Okay, so regarding, sorry, I wrote a few questions, but one of them is when you began, you had mentioned the basic text in terms of it meaning instruction, which I loved, which is meant to be studied, which I also love. My question is, and I've heard this in the past, but does that imply that the book has answers for living? Meaning, like, whatever my dilemma is, as an alcoholic, that the text will have some sort of instruction for maybe how I can proceed with whatever that problem is or that dilemma is that I'm facing.
Oh my gosh, I love that question. Yes, I am looking at the page number. I know exactly where the answer is and just need a moment to look it up.
Take your time. That's important. For me, it feels important.
It's a good thing I have this concordance or I can easily look up.
Yes.
I used to know this on the top. I
Take your
used
time.
to have
If you
it right
want, we
at
could put that aside because I have another one too that I wanted to ask before we run out of time.
Sure.
You want? So my next question is, I when does page 84 happen, right? Those are the notes that I wrote to myself when it refers to not fighting alcohol, but also says not fighting anything or anyone.
Well,
My
it comes
question,
right after step 10.
oh, okay, on page 84 or the first question?
Yeah, so we reread today at the bottom of bottom of page 84, but in the preceding chapter it says step 10, or the preceding paragraph says step 10.
Okay. Um, my question is, so at present, I don't on a daily basis feel as though I'm fighting alcohol, which is a spiritual thing that's going on. It's not a me thing, it's a spiritual thing. However, I still feel like I'm fighting other things. And I guess the question is, may that imply that I'm halfway there or partially there? The struggle I have as a newer person, I had a long-term sobriety, but now I'm new again. And the other fights of fighting of people or places or things or whatever, I still feel that that's occurring. So I guess that I wonder if what might that indicate in terms of the alcoholic being a very sick person and how recovered is described.
Yeah, well, that's reliance on self.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so the person who's not in fit spiritual condition, let's say,
Yep. I
only
honestly
has
agree.
only can rely on their ego mind,
Yep.
which is conditioned with all sorts of nonsense, and it's fear-based.
Yep.
And when we were coming from that place, we were constantly in conflict with people, places, and things.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
there's no other way to be right now.
Mhm. Mhm.
In my experience, we'll go over okay. To get out of that, one must engage in unselfish constructive action for others.
Mhm.
That's the only way to move into faith and get out of the fear-based way of living and the ego mind guiding us in all of our situations.
Right. And specifically, the big book is laying out unselfish action, constructive action, helping of others, specifically other alcoholics. That doesn't mean loaning money to my little sister who's broke this week. That means,
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, because that craziness can come up for me, that thinking. But this is specifically helping another very sick alcoholic. as far as constructive, unselfish action for others, correct?
No, you're right. You're right. So there are two different ways. Okay, this is a common question then again. Check your own experience.
Mm-hmm.
We have all been helpful to people, helpful to the program in so many ways. But ask yourself, was that enough to give me relief from my selfish, self-centered ego mind?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
In
No.
I can speak only from my experience. Until I really did the 3 hours a week or more of taking others through the big book, that I needed to work that hard, strenuous, vigorous action for another, but specifically taking through the book. That's the only thing that worked for me. I had commitments galore in AA. I had perfect meeting attendance, commitments 7 days a week. I did all that, and it wasn't enough. It didn't work. Those things are awesome, but it's not enough. So what you'll need to do is approach this like a scientist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving you a hypothesis, and I'm asking you to test this hypothesis. You
Yeah.
would only be able to really know if you actually did it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's just a theory or a hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
So lending money to your siblings,
Right.
I understand that it's unselfish because you don't have the money for yourself. Whatever, that gets into a whole nother like family dynamics and
It
all of that.
does. Yep.
But it's not going to be enough to solve this problem that we have right now.
Yeah. Agreed. And I recall years and years ago where I've experienced what you're saying.
Oh,
So again, and I'm talking like 2012, sponsoring people and it bringing me the relief that you're describing. So it's, yeah, a good point to ask the question, is this bringing me relief? Kind of using that like as a spot check, a relief from my alcoholism, for example.
yeah, there's something that we say all the time in the program, which is God does for us what we can't do for ourselves. And that I have contemplated that for decades. And my conclusion is when I make it my primary purpose, or when I just simply focus on carrying the message in the big book, that God takes care of the other stuff. That's all of it, right? Like earning a living, having housing, whatever the common problems that people encounter in life, just by being a human being on this planet, we have all kinds of stuff we have to get through.
Mm-hmm.
So I set those things aside instead of me sitting down, using my brain and my self-will and trying to calculate a solution. Instead, I'm going to put it aside and I'm going to focus on helping someone else. Right?
Absolutely.
We had a new employer being all powerful. He provided what we needed as long as we kept close to him and performed his work well.
Mm-hmm.
What is his work?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I wrote
Only
that.
an alcoholic can help another alcoholic. So I also found that page I was looking for your first question.
Okay. Yes.
Bottom of page 13. We're going to read the last few paragraphs.
Mm-hmm.
I was to test my thinking by the new God consciousness within. Common sense would thus become uncommon sense. I was to sit quietly when in doubt, asking only for direction and strength to meet my problems as he would have me. Never was I to pray for myself, except as my request bore on the usefulness to others. Then only might I expect to receive, but that would be in great measure. My friend promised when these things were done, that's the steps, I would enter upon a new relationship, right? Not the old idea I have of God, but the new relationship with my creator, that I would have all the elements of a way of living which answered all my problems. So how
I'm
many
on
problems does that leave out?
none. I'm on the third edition. That's the book I have. And what you said, page 13, but that's not, where is that you're reading in the third edition?
Oh, okay. Let me look at my other book.
So I can write it down. Sorry, because on 13, on the third edition, it's Bill's story.
Yeah, I'm reading from Bill's story.
Oh, you are, okay. I see it. Yep, I got it. I see it.
Yay.
Yep, yep. Okay, got it. And that, all that kind of answered, I suppose, in a roundabout way, the last question, which, so I wrote, what do I do? Okay, so, I've thought that I have had this power to solve my problems, but if I'm still suffering, do I not? So, and this is sort of regarding having had many years sober previous, and then having been on a 1 year relapse. I still am now. Now what's coming into question is like I felt like I had this power to solve my problems, but then there's ways that I, on a day to day, am still suffering, and maybe that is referring to this higher power that is maybe an old concept, or maybe I need to look at, maybe I do have prejudices, which I also notated because I didn't think that I did, but maybe I do. And, and then again, going back to the answers, which is just the answer, which is my focus, the answer focus on carrying the message, my only concern, and then everything else, my new employer will work out. But, my question as I wrote it originally is, I feel like I have this power because I have had it in the past, but there's still ways that I feel as though I'm suffering on a day-to-day basis. So I'm kind of like, maybe I don't. Maybe there are areas where there's prejudice that I didn't even, I haven't even known, or, I didn't even realize, because previously, you had talked about prejudices towards spiritual experiences, I think was the reference.
Yes, we're going to cover the word prejudice and what it means for us in Alcoholics Anonymous. But given your history and what I know about you, and that you have had conscious contact before, and so remember page 55. Deep down in every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. It may be obscured by pomp, by calamity, and worship of other things.
Mm-hmm.
And obscured means access, that it's blocked.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you look at the steps. The steps are a process of removal, of removing those blocks, so I can experience God within,
Mm-hmm.
the great reality within. And then you look at 10, 11, and 12. Those are daily columns. So we can have had conscious contact at one time, and for whatever reason get off course, and more things get piled up, and I don't have contact. I'm not tuned in and tapped in. I'm not feeling it. I can't hear it.
Obscured by calamity and pomp. I mean, I'm really relating to that,
Yeah.
I'm very much relating to that, because that's been the most frustrating part of this, after this relapse, has been like, wait a minute. I know there's a power greater than me. I have seen that this power greater than me can recover me from a hopeless state of body. And I've experienced that. And then the frustration is like, but I believe that. Well, excuse me, where the F is that? Where the F is that, And so that removing the blocks is, I wrote that down, that's helpful too. And that the steps help to remove those blocks that have been scared by calamity and pomp. Yeah, absolutely.
So pomp is like pride, ego, self-centeredness, all that jazz.
Right.
We can make a dent in pomp through unselfish constructive action through others. Calamity is the tragedy that I've experienced or that I've witnessed others experience.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
That's a huge one. My goodness, that's a huge one. For me, that's a huge one.
Yeah.
Huge.
You just turn on the news and you see calamity,
Oh my gosh, right? Yeah. Just driving down the street and all the homelessness, and it's, yeah, it could be a lot because it's very sad, So yeah. And then the personal calamity, having removed myself from the fellowship for several years before physical relapse, so Yeah. All right. Well, I wrote all that down and those answer my questions.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.